Welcome back to the Eternal Wrestling Podcast, and I'm your host, Jacob, and I'm bringing you fresh and unique matchups from our fantasy booking series, Reckoning, where we see legends and current stars go one-on-one and shake it up here a bit. We are building towards our pay-per-view, Rite of Passage, that will air on May 2nd, a Saturday. But let's recap last week, as a lot of things were shaking up. So last week, we saw Brody King defeat Rey Mysterio. We saw Finn Balor take on Anthony Bowens and win. Bray Wyatt and the Sandman bumped into each other, where Sandman did nothing but disrespect Bray Wyatt. DIY went on to defeat Cactus Jack and the Sandman, but Johnny Gargano left with a weird expression on his face. We had a parking lot incident where Orton targeted Drew McIntyre and Drew's wife. We also saw the NWO's Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman defeat Copeland and Macho Man. But after the match, the Hardys and Macho and Copeland got into a shoving match as checking on Rey after his match and called out the House of Darkness. We had a tag team match where we saw two big monsters, Kane and Umaga, taking on the Vanguard champions, Seth Rollins and Damien Priest. But Seth was thinking one step ahead, and he abandoned Damien Priest to take the fall in this match. Eddie Kingston had a rematch with RVD, where Kingston picked up the win. After the match, RVD, he ran into The Undertaker backstage and may have tempted fate in the wrong way. For our main event of last episode, we saw Kevin Owens, Vader, and Triple H facing off in a triple threat number one contenders match. The playing field was somewhat leveled as Bam Bigelow took Vader out and the two brawled, leaving Kevin Owens to pick up the win over a beaten down Triple H. And now, on to this week's action. We get a shot of the crowd. They're off their feet. They're excited. We are just 11 days away from the Rite of Passage pay-per-view. The tension is high. It's moving on from simmering to a boiling point here. We see the Reckoning pop up on the Tron. Everyone is excited. Pyro, flames, fireworks, they're shooting off. And now, on to segment one for our opening match. Zero Miedo! One half of the tag team champions, Penta. He makes his way out to the ring. He's strutting down the entranceway. And then Aleister Black comes out. Dark, dread fills the arena as he slowly moves and makes his way to the ring. The bell sounds and the action is underway. A lot of martial arts is showcased here. Penta, he's focusing on the legs, trying to ground the Dutch Destroyer. While Aleister, he's countering with knee strikes and just any kind of strike, really. Just trying to cut Penta down to size, focusing on different body parts and being very precise, almost like a surgeon. But eventually, Penta gets the upper hand and he's setting up the fear factor here. RVD slides into the ring. He doesn't care about the match. He lays out Penta with a Van Daminator and then beats down on Aleister Black. The bell sounds. This match is called off. He grabs the microphone and he yells. His eyes are wild. "Taker, I won't be humiliated by a ghost. Step out of the shadows, and how about you face me at the pay-per-view?" He has officially poked the Reaper. On to segment two, Drew McIntyre, he comes out, no music, just in his street gear, leather jacket, jeans, and he gets that microphone. He looks like he hasn't slept. His hair's kind of, disheveled. His beard isn't trimmed. He's just angry. He's just very angry. He's vibrating with rage. And Adam Pearce, he comes out with some security guards, but he's trying to de-escalate the situation. And he tells Drew that Randy's not in the building. And Drew, he starts grabbing the steel steps. He's smashing them. He's throwing them ringside. But Pearce does promise that at the pay-per-view, Drew will get his hands on Orton. And that seems to calm down the Scottish Warrior for the time being. On to segment three, we have a tag team match. The Acclaimed. They come out, they're spitting their disses because they're taking on Ciampa. And not Johnny Gargano, but Darby Allin. So the match begins, and the Acclaimed, they use their chemistry to isolate Darby. But, Darby, he's trying to get the hot tag to Ciampa, trying to, fight his way out until eventually he's able to get that hot tag to Ciampa. And Ciampa, he's wrestling very frantic, and perhaps this is because of the Johnny Gargano incident of last week. And eventually, as the match is nearing closer to the end, Darby, he hits a coffin drop on Max Caster, and Ciampa, He locks in a brutal Sicilian stretch on Bowens, and Bowens taps out. Darby and Ciampa, even though they haven't tagged here before on this series, they worked very well together. They understood the assignment and got the job done. On to segment 4, we see Cactus Jack. He comes out, he makes his way to the ring, and then fire shoots up. Bam Bigelow. He makes his way onto the entrance stage, starts coming down the ramp, and Vader hops the barricade, leveling Bigelow with the big clothesline. This match between Cactus and Bam Bam never starts. Just no contest. And a riot between these two big men ensues. They fight through the curtain. They're in the parking lot, brawling, smashing each other against cars and grabbing anything they can to try to pretty much almost kill each other. Until eventually, security, even though they're pretty much helpless here against these two mammoths of men, they're able to somewhat calm the situation. As Adam Pearce, he screams at them to stop and that next week, you two can get your hands on each other for good. Let's finish this next week before anybody else is hurt. On to segment 5. We see the Sandman taking on Kane. This is 90s Kane. The full mask, the long hair, the white contact. And Sandman, he brought his kendo stick out with him, but Kane, he doesn't feel much pain. So the match is underway, and Kane is dominating Sandman for a good portion of this. But midway through the match here, Bray Wyatt, he appears ringside. He's not attacking anybody. He's just clapping. He's cheering on Sandman like a friend, like a fan almost. Eventually, Kane, he hits a big boot on Sandman, picks him up, hits that giant choke slam, picks up the victory here. Bray, he slides into the ring. He's helping Sandman up. Sandman, he takes a look at Bray, gives him like an up and down real quick. He shoves Bray hard, knocking Bray onto his butt. Leave me alone, you idiot. And Bray, he's just sitting there laughing. He seems to find some joy in all the hate that Sandman is spewing. On to segment 6, Drake the Hammer Valentine and the Honky Tonk Man. They are in the ring and they are inviting anybody to come out and experience rhythm and blues. The lights go dark. It's time to play the game. Out comes Triple H, and he's in no mood. He doesn't have a partner, so the ref asks him if he wants to just fight them both. He nods his head, the bell sounds, and he makes quick work of both men. And he finishes by hitting a pedigree on the Honky Tonk Man, smashing his head through his own guitar, sending a very clear message here that while he may have lost the battle to get the title shot, he's still king of the mountain. On to segment 7, we see a frantic Ciampa, angry as well. He's got a towel around his neck, and he is talking to Adam Pearce. He finds Adam Pearce backstage. Where is he? Why isn't he picking up? Adam Pearce reveals that Johnny Gargano actually asked for this week off, and it hit Ciampa like a blow to the chest. Ciampa's hands, they're shaking, and he realizes that his partner's avoiding him for some reason, and that the silence is louder than words. On to segment 8. So we see the NWO, Hogan, Bronson Reed, and Strowman. They all enter the ring, and Hogan goes on to address his next challenger, Kevin Owens. And he says that he has built this new version of the NWO, and they are pretty much like a wall of meat, brother, that no one can climb. And Kevin Owens, he interrupts from the crowd, calling them nothing more than expensive bodyguards for Hogan. And he challenges Hogan to a true face-to-face. Hogan agrees, but it's just pretty much a trap. As Kevin Owens slides into the ring, Reed and Strowman go after him. KO, he's fighting back. He's getting momentum here. He's keeping the two monsters off of him, but then he is overwhelmed by the numbers game as he is beaten down. Strowman, he holds down KO while Reed climbs up to the top. A big tsunami splash on top of Kevin Owens. Hogan, he's shaking up a can of spray paint, and he sprays NWO across KO's back. And he says, "Welcome to the new era, Jack." Drops the mic, and the NWO will leave the ring. On to segment 9. Damien Priest, he comes out. He looks directly into the camera. Very cold, very focused. He's not yelling. He's just over Seth Rollins, and that Seth is trying to teach him a lesson. He says it's a rite of passage. He isn't coming for a wrestling match. He's coming to collect a debt. Expect no mercy from the Punisher. On to segment 10. One half of the Young Bucks, Nick Jackson, Super Kick Party, is taking on the Prince, Finn Balor. Hard clashing. Nick Jackson, he nearly gets the win with a 450 splash, but Finn, he got the knees up. Balor falls with a shotgun drop kick. Coup de grace. Finn picks up another win in a very fast-paced match, and his win streak continues, making him one of the most dangerous men on the roster. without a match for the pay-per-view. On to segment 11, our main event of the evening. We see the NWO, Bronson Reed, Braun Strowman taking on the Hardys, Matt and Jeff. Just a regular tag team match here. No crazy stipulations. The Hardys, they're using their speed. They're trying to chop down the Giants, trying to cut them down to size. But the NWO's power starts to become an overwhelming force. And the turning point here, Matt, he's ready for the twist of fate. He's about to go for it. But Macho Man and Adam Copeland come out. They don't interfere, but their presence, it causes a split-second distraction. Strowman, he's able to take down both Matt and knock Jeff off the apron. And this lets Reed hit a big tsunami splash onto Matt Hardy for the win. The NWO, they stand tall once more, but this tension between the Hardys, Macho Man and Copeland, is becoming way too much for the roster and is at an all-time high. So that is it for another exciting episode of Reckoning. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. We're building towards this rite of passage pay-per-view on May 2nd. Everything is entirely free to listen to, and I'm going to run down the match card so far. We've got a couple matches announced. Seth Rollins defending the Vanguard title against Damien Priest. We've got Hogan against Kevin Owens for the world title. And RVD laid down a challenge to The Undertaker at the pay-per-view. We will have to see how The Undertaker responds. And is he really ready for The Undertaker, or is he just spiraling? And also, what's going on with Johnny Gargano? And is he really done with DIY for good? All this and much more in the next episode, the Go Home Show before Rite of Passage. As always, I'm your host, Jacob, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this series so far. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more awesome wrestling action, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.